Yeah, for real. Hey, the world is sick, but Jesus been the cure. And you gon' need it, but you can't see it when your lens is blurred. Went from a menace to apprentice up within his word. He redesigned this heathen's mind, the reason why I minister. I see it lately, people hate me, I ain't insecure. So I'd rather be innovative than be immature. The blasphemous should not be asking what the tension's for. The church is Jesus' bride, be respectful when you mention her. Yeah, I'm really bout it if it's really bout it. Learn to put my hand in dirt and work to pull some skrilly out it. They say you scared, then go to church. Get that out here, bro. Y'all niggas scared to go to church, but I'm out here though. Yeah, where I'm from it's rowdy like a rodeo. That chopper lift will knock you stiff like you got polio. I seen hella niggas bloodied in they prime, with they mind on they money and they money on they mind. For real, Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. And it started with us partnering for civil rights. Now look how far from what we are from being civil, right? Place us in one space and time. We can't have one civil night. Hatred is a brown recluse, big old wound, little bite. I chop with rallies about the status of the state we in. They say that their mistakes is because racism is making them. Now racism's to blame for causing pain and what it takes from them. But God can heal us all from it, but we don't take our place with him. We judge ourselves as good, so we don't seek no grace from him. We bit from the forbidden fruit and learn we love to taste of sin. It's genocide and we're the worst despite our late begin. You think you fly? You just a bird inside an atrium. Yeah, and what you banging isn't worth your own. We don't own a single house, but yet we call the turf our home. Claim we love our people, but we'll kill them over selfish greed. I just hope this helps us see that we are self-deceived. Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. For those that know me, it's a known fact. Kept it tucked under the throwback, and the towel on the muzzle kept it muffled if we blow that. Far as hustling, I sold sacks, and not just them, boy, I sold straps. But never to the other side, can't trust them, and we know that. There's rules and regulations, you break them, you can never go back. I never spoke reckless to detectives, I kept the Kojak. You ever seen blood leaking out a face that took a few? And you can tell he know he done, just by the way he looks at you. I tell him they should bail, cause it's a horrifying life. Went from celebrating hell, now I'm glorifying Christ. Yeah, purple flag on his aim, crosses on that G thing. It symbolized the cost he paid for all of us to be changed. Too dumb when I was young to say I was the smartest nigga. Always been a target hitter, plus I'll take some charges with you. Nothing overstated, I don't claim I was the hardest, but I'm down for what I stand for, so I'm standing up regardless. Forever, Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. Christian is my new game. If we're prisoners in time, I'm a lifer for the truth, right? Yeah. Righteous is my new swine. Yeah. Christian is my new game. Christian is my new game. Yeah. 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 Christian is my new game. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's good, mate. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Try not to cough my lungs out, but other than that, I'm doing right, man. It's been a while since I've been on this, so
yeah, gee, me too. Oh, what's this news where all this stuff's popping up? That's how long it's been since I've had it on.
Out everything updated and stuff. The same thing.
Yeah, it keeps giving me prompts to do stuff. I don't really know much about that stuff. I have to wait till my brother can Hey, Sophista.
We finally got somebody in?
Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt.
It's the wild turkey, Sophista. They took away my devil juice thing, the 6.66%.
You guys drinking that? I'm over here on Lipton tea.
Neo. Hey, Neo.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, mate.
There. This is that watermelon lemonade tea mix.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
The ones I stay drinking. So you get a chance to see some of the stuff that I was sending you, right?
Yeah, I did. I did see some of it. I didn't get through all of it. Sorry, I'm just getting attacked here by my cat.
You're good. I mean, part series is a lot to get through, but
yeah. Yeah, it's frightening stuff, Mike. It's no way to cheer up your day watching all that sort of thing.
Well, no, that's the reason why back when I did that social media as a social poison, I said it's crucial for people that do podcasting and YouTube. I figured out to take breaks in between, because if you cover too much, like take protests or too much genocide or too much war footage over a period of time, you're intaking that constantly. So you're putting yourself into that mind state constantly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's got to cause some sort of depression or something, doesn't it? It's certainly not fun to look at.
If you're not careful, for sure. You know what I mean? I mean, you take that first part, the human trafficking, right? This is one I try to get people to jump on that I knew. I'm not going to say names or anything because I know they're from Mexico. But naturally, they didn't want to do it. But if you watch the documentaries that I put together, it makes sense they would say that, because a lot of these people, they're afraid for their lives if they talk about the process of how they got over here or any of that. And that's just a fact. And one word, honestly, in my research, I'm going into the first part right now on human trafficking. The research that I seen was the governments are complicit in it, because this is a global thing that's going on, because you have the children being exploited across the globe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mind you. Now you got the border crisis. So how is it that two countries, three, if you take Guatemala, right? You have all of this border crisis going on. You got all these human traffickers. These human traffickers are literally saying these people are paying twice in Guatemala, and then they pay again in Mexico, and possibly a third time if they want to go to the Tijuana route. These girls, when they get to Guatemala, they're already sold. Their parents sell them to the human traffickers to get them, like, basically. And when I say sell them, I don't mean like sell them like that. I mean to pay their way to get to Mexico, to the border checkpoint or whatever. But these girls often, it turns out, they're raped on this bus or train. I want to say it was a bus, but they're gang raped on the way there. And then they're brought to the...
I saw that part of the report. They were talking to someone that was speaking to that.
Yeah, it was her story from her perspective, where she said, take a look around. And it was a trip. I had to take my device and literally walk around, because to get the footage, she said, go ahead. I guess it was like one of those 3D interactive things. And she said, go ahead, take a look around at where they kept me. And it was just like a little tiny hotel room with the bed, a lamp, and a little shady TV, and that was it. You know what I mean? And the whole strip basically was the human traffickers. So these girls are going through that. And honestly, they got the other people too. They're flat out selling their body just to pay their way, they said too.
Well, I would think a lot of people would have to be in that situation, wouldn't they? They don't have much else to sell.
It's a sick thing, and I know it's a sick subject matter to honestly sit through, because these girls could go from all ages. I mean, to purchase, when you go to Thailand, that's where what's his name from Lincoln Park, Chester. I included part of his video that he was working on, and the reason why I did is it turns out in Asia you could purchase a child for $4,000, no questions asked. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's 4,000 United States dollars, and these people just walk away like nothing happened. That's how much a human life is worth to them.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Well, and that's the reason why you see so many of these. Like when you used to see these catch a predator profiles and all that. Remember?
Yep.
Well, when they went to the overseas ones, they would catch doctors, they would catch lawyers, they would catch these wealthy people over there. Well, what do you think they're doing over there? In my opinion, they were over there getting caught up in these pedophilia ring things because they were trying to purchase children. Now, one video, the girl was a young girl. I want to say she was 10 or 11. The police grabbed her off the bed. She was naked. The guy was naked and she was bleeding.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So this is a reality
Yeah.
of what we're
Clearly.
going through. This is a reality of what's going on when you hear about the Save the Children movement. And some of the footage I'm actually didn't even include because some of it was too graphic to actually include. I did include, in my opinion, some pretty graphic things from my
Hey,
family.
Dale.
And one of those was a rape trees. Now, you hear politicians in the United States often talking about the rape trees when they talk about the migrant crisis and the border. And you hear a lot of mixed opinions about this, right?
Yeah.
These mixed opinions are because in Mexico, the human traffickers, the coyotes, they're saying it's just rumors and speculation. The Border Patrol agents, now don't get me wrong, they're very complicit too, because some of them, as it turns out, have been arrested for enabling human trafficking and rape themselves. But yet at the same time, they're reporting these trophies. These trophies are trees, and these trees also serve as a warning, they said, to the other migrants and immigrants. So the coyotes are coming, and I guess what they do is they line the girls up and they take the most pretty girls, and that's the ones they take out to the tree, and they basically tell them to cooperate to the rest of them or the same thing is going to happen to them. Well, and I'm sorry, it's hard for me to talk about, but I'm just in my head, I just reflect back on the footage.
Yeah.
You'll see lingerie that is clearly, like, if you know, like, true crime and stuff like that, or if you've been with women for any certain amount of time, these are not grown women lingerie that's in this tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so this is, they can lie all they want to. This is a actual problem that's ongoing. And don't get me wrong, I'm stating it's a problem on both sides. Border Patrol is also getting arrested for the same crime. So how is that working?
Yeah. Well, really, Mike, it would all the more make you think people would be screaming about doing something to fix that border of yours that was under some sort of control as little as 2 years ago.
You know, honestly, what's ironic, they asked one of the coyotes, and he went by Tony, if I remember right. And they asked him, in your opinion, did you prefer the previous administration? Or do you prefer the Biden administration? And he said, I actually prefer to not shit you not. I'm sorry to curse out there, but for everybody else later, but because it surprised me. He said, no, I actually preferred the previous administration because it was safer. Business was safer back then. Now it's a free for all. We have people coming in from all over the place, and it's just they're rampant. Everybody's killing everybody. You know what I mean? So he's stating that business got out of control because everybody across the globe started flying in.
Yeah, well, as you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been there, but you certainly hear all the reports about how
Neither
much
have I.
easier it is for us.
Right.
frightening, Mike. It's really, you wonder how much worse it could possibly get.
It gets pretty bad. It really does. I mean, because we're just barely cutting the edge. It gets worse than that, because you get into like even regular people like ourselves, or people like, say, remember back when middle class was a thing?
Yeah,
back in the 90s.
Yeah, back in the 90s. Well, really. I mean, it seems these days you're either struggling or you're kind of well off. It does seem like back in the 90s. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, and honestly, that's what I'm getting at. It's people in that bracket and wealthy people at the 5-star like resorts and beyond 5-star resorts. Okay. And there's women saying that they were raped there. In some cases, even gang raped. The places refused to help them, and the local authorities did little to nothing to actually help them catch anybody. In fact, the daughter of one of the victims said, "No, we're going to go confront them." And I guess it was a bachelor party room, like group of guys.
Yep.
And the daughter had, naturally the nowadays thing that they do, the phone going,
Yeah.
And the guy was by himself, just happened to be by himself. The rest of the guys are gone. And he said, "Well, I wasn't by myself, so it's okay." And then the security escorted them out of the room.
Why?
You know what I mean? Now, this is where it gets twisted. Upon further research, it happened to even American people as well overseas at these resorts, and likely European as well. Now, what they're being told is it's a conflict of interest between the parties for them to get legally involved.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
What's that to say?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. This is what we expect.
You got to ask yourself this. I mean, the average age of an American prostitute in America, now we're talking now going into just basic street pimps, right? The average pimp will have around 5 to 6 different girls. Those girls are between the age of 13 to 17. And that's going by actual crime statistics. Beyond that, they either become drug addicted on average, or they become strippers, or they make it by some kind of miracle, normally, in my opinion, by God, and they get out of it. You know what I mean? Or they get locked up or become in this system. And that's just the fact. And that's what I'm driving at. You got all these politicians saying, we're going to fix it. We're going to fix all these problems for years now, since we were growing up. Now, I know you're only like 2 years older than me. So since we've been growing up, we've heard all these people saying forever, we're going to fix these problems. We know how to fix it. They got the technology to know about what's going on. They're just downright not doing it. And it boils down to different countries and privacies and money, basically, in my opinion.
Well, you must be right, mate, because if they wanted to fix the problem, they could do a lot to make it not so prevalent. That even just as far as your border goes, your southern border, like we can all remember 2-3 years ago, and how much progress had been made. I would have thought, Mike, like if someone had have asked me to guess, I would have thought it would cause riots. I would have thought you just about would have had a civil war over, hey, something's got to be done here. I still remember 2020 and all the riots in Democrat cities and that. It's not out the realm of possibility that people just say, I've had enough and go bananas. They just go bananas over the wrong thing.
Well, what it is when you have people that's armed to the teeth like you do, because you have criminal organized groups here. You have cartels, you have organized crime figures. Being the fact that you have so many people coming from overseas, you're bound to have other crime families involved in it. You know what I mean? Now, they've even found terrorists at the border. So you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do? You got ranchers that have property along the border, and they're dealing with people coming across on their property that are firearms that they don't even have. Well, they even have firearms that now the Democrats want to take from them.
Well, that's what you always hear, isn't it? Regardless what you think about America and guns, you hear it over and over again. No army anywhere has as many guns as you got. People do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Mal, that's what I'm saying. Like, one of these girls, she was a female rancher, elderly, right? She said, I could tell how often coyotes have used my property based on the trash debris, on how it looks. It got me thinking to people like the survival tactic people. You know, she said I could tell by how it looks, how warped it looks, and how new it is by how often they use this trail. You know what I mean? She said she was asked if she's been shot at. She goes, I've never been hit, but yes, I have been shot out of my direction. You know what I mean? I have footage that we attached onto for these for this episode series, where you'll see ranchers actually show you live, where you hear them talking back and forth between the coyotes and the other person who's running back towards the Mexico side. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're trying to be cordial, but at the same time, you're dealing with human lives, and this is thousands of dollars. Like, this coyote showed a bracelet. You know what I mean? And he said that each one's color coordinated and their GPS. And even if they're not GPS, they tell the people that they're GPS, and the people believe them. You know what I mean? You got to ask yourself, here's what a lot of people will throw out and they're not able to answer. And I really dug deep to find out why. Why aren't the immigrants reporting their sexual assaults? Because it's happening to children as well. Well,
all I can think of, my only guess that would be logical, not to suggest anything's logical, but I would think where they're coming from is worse than where they hope to get to.
Bingo. They said by an overwhelmingly majority that why bother reporting it if we're going to get deported back and charged with the crime on top of it?
Yeah, well, that's logical to me. It doesn't mean it's right. It means I can understand why.
It's dangerous because it gives the human traffickers an avenue to continue the crime.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate part. You see the web that I'm talking about. This has to be to the point to where the people on top know something. Because you hear all these so-called conspiracy theories, right, about human trafficking tunnels and all this other stuff. Now, I did spend some time looking into it. I didn't include it into these series because of that fact. It is conspiracy theories. As I told you in private, I did get into it a while back, remember, with one of the QAnon people, because I called them on one of their videos. You know what I mean? And the fact of the matter is, the way I see it is that there's a real operation going on. Show the whole thing, like how they were saved and everything else, because yes, it is ongoing. Ukraine right now, what they're not saying is the Ukraine area and other countries around Ukraine, like Romania and other areas, are epic centers for human trafficking and children trafficking, to the point to where Prague itself has been used numerous times on shows like Law and Order SVU because of the amount of children exploitation that goes on there. That's why I brought up to you a while back. Makes you wonder about these buses that were being reported on the news and full of children, and two just random people, like random guys driving the bus and sitting back there with the kids telling them, oh, their family members getting them out of the village.
Yeah.
And off they went.
Oh, because that's okay, isn't it, Mike? That's a good note. On your way. I mean,
Right.
it's hard.
organ trafficking. See, back in Kosovo was going on. I'm just fast forwarding into part 2 of the series real quick. Back in Kosovo, and the operation was going on, and the Liberation Army was there.
Yeah.
The person that got elected after the Clintons and the American forces helped them was a known criminal who had ties to organized crime. It was known as like the people's kind of criminal, like the Robin Hood kind of guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Well, here's the other thing. They also had a lot of chemical and laboratory facilities in Kosovo at the exact same time the Democrats were over there a lot. And guess what else happened? Prisoners of war mysteriously vanished. And ones that didn't vanish had organs missing.
Now, I know where you're going here, Mike, and as you know, throughout my time, I've taken an interest in some pretty sick things. Whether we're talking, I don't take an interest doesn't mean I approve of, but some of the things like Joseph Mengele and stuff like that. I've often thought, and it might. The reason I bring this up is it might help stop what you're discussing. People that do now, I'm not talking about theft. I'm not, but really reprehensible crimes like you rape and murder a child. When we've got you, and there's no doubt, rather than the taxpayer pay for your bed and your upkeep, your food and whatever, why not just go in there? Because, I mean, if you had a child that needed a liver transplant, and meanwhile you didn't have the money that it costs to buy the organ because there's not enough of them around, maybe it makes sense to treat them as you would like a wreckers, a car yard, where you go there and you take the part you need. Because if you did that, not only would you deter people from doing silly crimes, they'd sooner say, hey, I'm gonna off myself rather than get caught for doing this.
Yeah.
But you also wouldn't have what you're talking about. You wouldn't be giving people the incentive to go out and take. Do you see what I mean?
I get where you're going, but I mean, honestly, that was the biggest part of the trafficking to me, was exposing the organ trafficking thing connection. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. There was a lot of people arguing. I also included an Oxford argument where some people were arguing to lessen the penalty and to accept organ trading to eliminate the illegal factor. They said the only way to eliminate the illegal factor is to legalize it all the way around. The problem is you can't stop the traffickers from kidnapping to do that.
And yet I totally understand. If
that's what all these notes are over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally understand if I'm to stand up, like, just pretend I'm in charge of the country and I get to call the shots. Well, rather than pay all this money looking after these reprehensible criminals that have done things that are so far beyond. Because more and more of that's going on.
Mm.
So we need to slow that down. And at the same time, we don't want stuff go. So this is a disgusting suggestion, but we're going to take their liver, take their heart, take their lungs, and we're going to give it to someone that better uses it. I understand right at that point, people are squirming. They're going, oh, no, you can't do that.
It's sickening, dude. The footage is just out there. Like,
but on the other end of the spectrum, you slow down what's going on with what you're talking about, kidnapping people. So I'm not suggesting I have all the answers, but
you got to bear with me, Mal, because we got a little bit more to go. Okay. That was one connection. Understand this. We already went into the Kosovo thing, so I might as well bring in this. This is a more recent thing for our watchers. Hopefully, either now or when I re-upload this, right?
I'm listening, mate. I can hear you. I'm just going to feed this monstrous cat that's about to tear my arm off. Keep going.
You know who Kendrick Johnson is, right? Remember him?
Yeah.
Are you aware that the family is suing the county medical clerk and the county official medical people, the funeral home and everybody involved?
Sorry, Mike, can you say that again? Am I aware?
Kendrick Johnson's family suing the city where this crime happened at, that they're suing it because the medical examiner forged their signature, basically, to take out all his crucial arteries, all of his organs, right?
Right.
They had no knowledge of this whatsoever prior. In fact, whenever speculation rose of it and they got the legal documentation to redig up the grave, they found out, and this is an alarming thing, the medical people all over the place, because it gets even worse in here in a minute. All his body, where the brain was, the heart, the kidneys, and everything, was stuffed with newspaper. You get what I mean?
I do. I really am hesitant to say. I'm hesitant to say, like, if someone dies at the hospital and you make arrangements that they're going to be cremated, it's not all of us that go there and watch to see what condition the body's in when it arrives there. And
it's morbid to me, man, because I feel like the family has a right to win the lawsuit because there's religious rights like mine and other religions on the face of the earth that I'm like, it violates our principles to be able to do that to our bodies.
Of course they have the right, Mike. I wouldn't try and argue that with you. Of course they have the right. It's their body.
And that's the issue, is the city and these top hospitals are so greedy. And it's such a dirty market. And that's what we're going to prove by the end of this. And it's all about money. That's what we're going to prove about it. Because I'm not going to tell you how much yet. That's in a little bit.
Yeah, no.
Okay. They're willing to make this money at the time, thinking no one's going to find out. Right? And we're going to leave it there. Right? Let's move on to the fact that Facebook is now being looked at legally. Because they've been connected to numerous organ harvesting sites.
Facebook.
Yep. in their marketplace.
Okay.
Bingo. World health, and all that kind of crap. It gets even worse than that, though, because in Chicago, a Chicago investigation not too long ago, medical examiner again, involving a senior citizen home where you would put your mom, your grandma, somebody like that, right? You trust them, correct?
You meant to.
They were found out that they were complicit in illegal organ harvesting of the people in a nursing home, not saying anything to the loved ones that's trusting them. In fact, it was such a deep operation that shook the city of Chicago because it connected Detroit medical examiners to Chicago medical examiners, and they were transporting by the airport.
There's that much money involved, Mike.
That much money.
Yeah, you couldn't doubt it. I mean, you can buy your way out of just about anything, and it'd be interesting. I'm hoping
it
you
really
come
is, by the way, to the commenter.
Yeah, well, it is a scary world, Sal. I mean, it's unbelievable, and yet it's totally believable. Money will buy someone's silence. It will.
Yeah.
And if all your job is at the airport is to look the other way, I mean,
it's and we get to the point to where in another country there's another nursing home, and this is in India. Remember a while back, the last time I talked about how India was turned back to socialism and communism and all that, right?
Yeah.
Well, a nursing home in India in a pretty prominent area, and I got the news clip there too, and was involved in, this is where it's twisted to me as a cook. I'm offended because they had fresh food that was supposed to be delivered to the nursing home or from the nursing home or however it went. And they were storing the dead bodies on their way on top of the fresh food that was been delivering somewhere else. Yep. To get rid of the organ somewhere else.
Yeah. Well,
you get what I mean?
Why
right now, human trafficking and organ trafficking has jumped to the number one crime on the black market. Drugs are number 2, followed by guns, number 3.
Really?
Really? On the international crimes list.
How can drugs be more prevalent than human?
No, I'm saying human life, organs, illegal, you know what I mean? Human trafficking and organs on the black market
is making more money.
Is making more money than drugs and guns.
So that clearly that says to you, doesn't it, about you have to do something to circumvent that, because and what the only thing I can think of, because we have plenty of people that do unbelievably disgusting crimes that you'd like to see other. Hey, g'day, how you going? You would like to make an example of someone here. This person did so wrong that here's what we do to people that do this.
Yeah.
That others go, oh no, I'm not going to fucking do that. I'd be better off.
Exactly. My point is, I felt so crazy looking into all this because there's even a grandma. Are you still listening?
I am, mate. I can hear you. I won't be a sec.
There's 2 more issues on the organ trafficking that really got to me. I had to remember today when I was reverting back. I had to remember to include tonight. And one of my friends in Africa, I told her I would talk about it, but that's going to be in a minute. So there, in America, mind you, a grandmother who had full custody of her granddaughter has some handicapped issues. She had passed away. Another medical examiner forged the signature and said to take all the vital organs out of the child, right? Without her knowledge whatsoever. She did not sign any type of medical paperwork, any type of city paperwork at all.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
It was alarming to me. She's bawling her eyes out going, I don't even know what to do because it's already been done. Somebody else has my granddaughter's body parts, and I wasn't even known about it. You know what I mean?
Oh, what happened there, Mike?
Lost connection for a second. So back to Africa real quick, because you hear a lot about these.
Sorry, can I just take 20 seconds before you go to Africa? Why wouldn't we naturally assume then that anytime someone passes away and is going to be cremated where there's nothing but dust left, why wouldn't we just assume that it's worth removing all their organs first? Because it sounds like a human body's worth $1 million just in organs alone.
Because there's sanctity in people's faiths and their bodies, and
but we trust people to uphold that over money.
Giving away your organ should be something that you should do for, like, out of the kindness of your own heart, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that, Mike. But for as long as the person doing the cremation is just being paid to do a job, they're at work like anyone else. You'd nearly think that we want to see the person, view the cremation process. What do you have to hold the hand of your mother who passes away all the way until?
I think that's the point that we're trying to make, is at what do we have to do legally to help these people, or what could be done legally to help these families, not just in America, in your country too, and you know what I mean, in other areas. But what can you do legally to help these families at these medical and top hospitals? You're talking top, these people are top hospitals. In one area that I was going to go to in a little bit, they said that the person that was, quote, paid, as you're saying, made $200 off his organs, at where one was supposed to be taken and the other one was illegally taken without him knowing. Now he's sick all the time because of infections from the area that it was taken. Meanwhile, the top rated hospital in the area that got those organs got paid $34,000 per organ.
I bet.
Not including the money from the surgery, not including the money that the person gave them.
So we've just come out of a time in this country where during lockdown and that, do you know how many people, like, I can't even imagine, they've got their mum, their dad, whoever it be, in hospital dying, and they couldn't even visit. They get past the phone to talk to them.
Right.
So
it's crazy.
Just think that logic through to its end. I mean, it is frightening.
It's a system, and that's why I said these governments have to be complicit. And let's go with the World Health Organization, because we're all from different countries. Let's go with them, because there's supposed to be the World Health Organization who talks to the Central Disease Center in my country, who advises the Department of Health and everybody else. I'm sure it works similar in other countries. Yep. So how come all of these hospitals are being complicit, from the Philippines to China to America to Australia to the UK to Pakistan to
the answer India? To that be money.
Money.
Yeah. Well, going off track a bit, when I worked at the hospital, there was they had all these houses that they bought up around the hospital when they were for sale and turned them into different clinics. And I said to my mum, because I worked nights, I would drop off their supplies and take their empty boxes and all this sort of thing. Mm. And there must have been 15, 20 cars in the car park of this child psychology center called Wandila. And one night, all the windows of all the cars were smashed. So I was telling my mum, because she was kind of like the boss of this stuff. I was telling her, oh, hey, when I went there last night, this is what went on.
Yeah.
And she explained to me, she said, I wouldn't be surprised if it's an inside job. I said, why? Why would someone do that? And she explained, if you don't spend your budget, you don't get that budget again next year. Like if your budget is $600,000 and you only spend $400,000, well, then you're not going to get $600,000 the following year. They'll give you $400,000. I said, okay. So she said, all those cars are work vehicles, and those people aren't allowed to take those cars home. So they drive their car to the job and then use the work vehicle during the day.
Wow, for real?
I said, that's a bit strange. She says, well, that's why there's 20 cars parked in that car park when no one's there. I said, all right. She says, so by smashing those windows, it would be in the interest of the person that does one dealer's budget to have to replace that. Don't just think some kids come along and decided to be vandals. It would make all the sense in the world. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
We're motivating people in the wrong direction.
Well, and that's the wrong direction. Let's go with that real quick. Because when I was talking about Africa, I have a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and she lives in Africa. So I wanted to include this because, see, what happened was, when you look at a lot of these extremist groups and you hear their ideology, and I know some of it was been told because Harvey has talked about it, you know what I mean? About how they use the indigenous people in Australia, just like they did with African Americans here. And they try to bring a re-interest in shamanistic viewpoints in trying to say Christianity is the white man's
religion.
We go,
Mike. Now you're talking about Harvey, A-V-I.
Yes,
every time you
said it wrong. Yes.
When you say Harvey, I always think of Harvey Weinstein for some reason.
My bad.
Yeah,
no,
I'm with you, yeah.
Yeah,
Yemeni, folks. Harvey Yemeni. I'll write it down so people
they use this rhetoric that brings up these old faiths trying to say that Christians and Jews systematically controlled them, right? And took away their traditional religions. Well, what happened was a reemergence of witchcraft and shamanistic and tribalism, right? Now, ironically, and this is mainly happening in Southern Africa, mind you, and it's happening to albino people. There's a genocide going on because these people believe the shamans when saying that they're albino. So they believe their bones have gold in them, and that if you kill one, you'll live forever, especially if it's a child. So they'll go as far as the local police in this interview, and it's about 20 minutes long, and it's in this series as well. And you'll hear the local police chief, who is albino themselves, say these people will come to our village and dig up our graves to get the bones, to do ceremonies. Now, saying that they'll get wealthy.
In the year, like this is happening in the 21st century. Not in the 15th century. Not in the...
Currently.
Well, this is a level of stupidity that if I was in charge, I'd look to eradicate that. That's too dumb for words.
Now, if you eradicate it, you get into all the area of what's right, what's wrong, social justice, and all that. Because remember, I said traditionalistic, shamanistic viewpoints. You're dealing with one area coming into another area and doing these crimes. And the bigger area has more money saying, what are you talking about? Nothing's going on. You know what I mean? So that's why you hear me back in the day for the past couple of years when you used to hear me say, why aren't they saying, they say BLM, but I never hear them say about the slavery that's going on today. As in, it's going to be when you wake up tomorrow morning, wherever you are in this globe, it's happening there today on the shores, ongoing human slavery. And it's a fact. You know what I mean? And they're doing it to each other, but you never hear them bringing it up. You get what I mean? And for that matter, the ones here in America, I never bring up the Aborigines in Australia. Do you get what I mean? So that's the reason why people like me said, what is it really about? Because this is stuff that's human lives that's ongoing today, and that's been ongoing for a while. I mean, you're getting to the point to where They're killing people because they believe their bodies have gold in them. And they're doing it to their own race. They just have a genetic disease that causes albinism. And yes, it is a genocide now officially by the World Health Organization. Recognizes one ongoing today. And that's why you hear me talk about different things. Like you hear a lot of different things about Africa and in India, but you seldom hear about the persecution and the slavery aspects that's going on, because a lot of times they're sold to wealthier people on the black market. These wealthier people will purchase them and take them overseas to other countries. You get what I'm saying? So these crimes have now grown past slavery and human trafficking to people are getting voted for their body parts. Take that video of the child that was from China. He was 9 years old, right? And the cornea in your eye,
Yep.
anybody with basic medical knowledge can extract your cornea in a moving vehicle like a van. It's that easy to get, they said in the video. So what they did was they kidnapped a kid playing in his yard, right? And I guess it was in a country area. And somehow the kid survived from what I call, and said that she said that as long as you don't cry, I won't gouge out your eyes. Well, the kid started crying being 9 years old. So she gouged out his eyes to extract the cornea. The farmer that reported the crime, that was a rural Chinese farmer, said that he found the boy with no eyeballs in his socket. Police said they found the eyeballs a couple miles down on the road without the cornea on them. That boy was tossed aside like trash for money. So when I say this, I'm saying this because the younger the victim, according to the research, these people believe are willing to pay more for their organs.
I understand. They're yet to
So-
be polluted. A younger person hasn't smoked. A younger person hasn't polluted their body.
You brought it up earlier. We're dealing with the pandemic. What do you think these rich people want?
Yeah, well, more money, clearly.
Nah, fuck the money. What do you think they want?
You tell me.
The same shit. Their organs to be healthy. That's why you're seeing an uprise in organ trafficking.
Yep.
You get what I mean, in my opinion. And I mean, all this data shows it. And granted, some of these cases, now, when you look at these videos, you'll notice some of them, I even got their own country news clips. They're in Chinese. Granted, you know, you're welcome. They're in English caption. At least I know a couple of them are. And to make sure that would happen. But you'll see for yourself how this is an ongoing thing. The Chinese government officially will say that it's rumors that's going on, that it's fabricated numbers that aren't really the true numbers. Well, really, whenever human rights experts looked at it, the religious groups that you hear about that are being persecuted there in these concentration camps, that yes, they are there. The prison camp, I want to say it started with an S, like S-2 something. It was the most notorious one. That's where they kept prisoners of war. That's where they kept these religious radicals, anybody they deemed a threat to the state, basically. Well, here's the thing. They claimed the organ donors were inmates that were legitimately donating their organs globally, right? Well, when human rights experts calculated out the numbers, it just clearly did not add up to the amount of organs that were actually being moved around across the globe from China. Now, when you look at numbers of people that bought organs illegally through the black market, overwhelmingly, it was America, Australia, and UK that bought them the most, and the citizens of these countries. And what they're doing is they're flying to 3 countries: China, India, and Pakistan. Now,
populated places.
When they get there, a lot of times the facilities seem like they're on the up and up, right? But they're not. your local healthcare, for example. I got a news clip of an Australian nurse. She seemed like a nice lady. She was saying the people coming back are a burden on our healthcare because they come back with infections because of the improper care of the countries where they're getting this transplantation taking place at. So even though they got a good deal on the organ, they're still draining the country's health supply because later on down the road they develop complications due to infections because it was unclean in the first place.
So, Mike, are you able to tell me, because I know India and China's population is somewhere in the region of 1.5 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the official number. I'm bad with numbers, you know
So
that.
what is Pakistan?
Not,
I'll get it now. Hold on.
I'm actually looking to see how big the country is. It's a fairly big country, but it's not that big.
Pakistan population is only 220 million. When I say only 220 million, I mean in relation to what is China and India,
which is right here.
So I'll do China population here, and that is 1.4 billion.
Right.
Which is too many people by anyone's account, right? Now we'll do India. 1.38 billion. So if suddenly today China and India were gone, you'd wipe out about half of the world's population.
In theory.
Now we remember it would have been 1984. I was in grade 4. I'm lucky. I get to remember what grade I was in by what year. In 1983, I was in grade 3. In 1986, I was in grade 6. It would have been around 84 when I first heard you're only allowed to have one child in China.
Yes, I was alive in the same. Remember, I said you're like 2 years older than me because I'm 40 right now. So
you're 40.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 48 in November, so I'm.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were younger than that.
Yeah, no, I'm old. I certainly feel old.
But yeah, I remember the same thing now.
But the point B is they've since changed that rule, haven't they?
Yes, they actually have. They're trying to repopulate their country right now.
Repopulate their country that has more people than anywhere else does.
Well,
they must plan on taking someone else's land. They'd have to. Because only 30 years ago, they were talking this way. Now they're talking that way.
Yeah, you could officially have more kids than one now. What you're talking about was their policy was if you had more than one girl, they would execute them.
I thought it was more than one child, and that's why people were killing girls.
I believe it was males. I believe it was the girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and the way they looked at it was girls reproduce.
Either way, they've changed their mind, and yet their land hasn't grown.
Yeah.
So what is the thinking?
I'm thinking they're going to get ready for a world war.
Yeah, well, I think the number one thing China wants is Australia.
Well, they got their hands over here in America too, but they do it sleekly. Even in my little state, they complain about how many illegal grow operations are actually connected to China that are being busted by illegal Chinese. So what they do is they buy up land everywhere. They're doing what they did. They're doing what they did in your country here right now. And I keep trying to tell people over the past couple of years, but nobody wants to put it together. I'm like, what they do is they do it slowly. They just come in and start buying up things left and right over a period of like whatever amount of time it takes until they get a decent amount, and then boom. Demand after demand after demand after demand.
Certainly that's happened here, but I just put myself in the position of, say you run a country and you've got 1.5 billion people. Mm-hmm. I'd be looking at Australia saying, look at that. There's no one there. They have twice as many kangaroos as they do people, for Christ's sake. They're the same size as America, and yet they're less than 10% of America's population.
Right.
it's pretty reasonable thought, I think. That
No, I mean, I'm always going to stand for basic. You know me, I'm a pro-lifer, so I'm tough, hardline stance on pro-life. That's not going to change. But my point is to bring up the corruption of the governments that's involved, because I don't think it's right for them to blame certain people. Take Epstein, for example. Epstein got arrested. Everybody lost their effing mind, right?
yeah.
Maxwell got arrested. Everybody lost their effing mind.
And
Weinstein, everybody lost their effing mind.
but
You know?
no one seems to care anymore about the ridiculous excuse for
Well, you got to wonder.
death. I mean, we should all.
You really got to wonder, because see, the thing about Maxwell is she had a submarine service that was quote environmentalist to explore the ocean. Well, you got to ask yourself something. What are these rich assholes doing with these submarines for real?
Hmm.
Why is it that the royal family has these tunnels going from the palaces underneath the city of London to get to certain pubs that are quote unquote just to escape the paparazzi? But they've been known about since the 40s.
Yeah.
Don't make much sense, right?
No, it really doesn't.
You got to, what these tunnels actually have, like, I think one of them has 4 bars in it itself.
Well, it's funny you talk about that, because in the 90s, when I worked in the city, I was on the basement floor working in an arcade, and because I had a key to get down into this lower part where plumbing and stuff was, but you could go further, and I didn't have a key for that part. And when you talk to other people that worked in shops, everyone believed there was tunnels all under.
There is. There's a network there. I mean, with my own eyes, I've seen them in Yuba County, California. And that dates back to the Chinese slavery period in California that built a railroad system. And behind the Bacchai Temple on East Street in Marysville, you can gain access to it. That's one way that you can gain access to it. And underneath, you can see where homeless people have spray painted arrows.
Yeah, well,
and you can see where mattresses are and everything else.
Well, a lot of that talk, because in this basement building, which you would think was as low as it goes, there was an elevator, and that you did need a key to make it go down further. Anyone could get in the elevator and go up. That's how we brought pinball machines and that down to the basement. But there was a key that enabled you to go down, and I never had that key. But the key to the door, I can show anyone today. We can get. It's a clothes store or something.
It's really a matter of what it seems like the wealthy just have a system of money mazes, because it starts off looking like a maintenance tunnel or a basic sewage, like, manway entrance that you would go down if you were a city worker, right?
Yeah.
But the farther you go down, it's like there's like a secret route, and you go in, and all of a sudden it's like concrete hugely around it where you can almost get a vehicle down it, AC'd with like a bar and all this other stuff going on. In fact, it's so easy to do that cartels are doing the same thing with tunnels going across. Some of the tunnels that have been busted are actually air-conditioned tunnels underneath the grounds with fully lights, like LED lights, like I have in the shop.
Well, that's what someone on Joe Rogan a few years back was talking about. He was in England, and he'd heard these rumors, and he went searching, and there's a whole episode about it.
Yeah, there's
I forget his name, but he spoke for a couple of hours about how they went down there and were exploring these. And there's he's not making up stories.
Nah, it's what it is just what they do. But my point is this: is they claim they do it to get away from paparazzi and unwanted attention. And when I heard the word unwanted attention come from one of the younger royal family members to get away from paparazzi and, unwanted attention, I
Yeah.
was like, the way he worded paparazzi and unwanted attention, I was like, yeah, I bet you don't want attention to what you're doing down here. I bet you guys don't want the world to know about what you're doing down here. You get what I mean?
Well, for my
Because the reason why I say that is anywhere else they go, they just got their freaking armed service everywhere. It doesn't matter whether it's an American politician, a British politician, whatever politician. I'm only using those two because I've lived in England and America my whole life. But
how
I'm
long
just
were
saying,
you in England for?
I was there for 4th and 5th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't even, for anyone that out there that doubts you, I mean, you just look at the latest thing with Prince Andrew and what went on.
Yeah.
No one anywhere would have been more thankful for COVID than that Prince Andrew. And look at how we ended up settling with that girl.
Oh, the whole thing is just a charade of what's going on, in my opinion, over there. You know what I mean?
There's no doubt. And then if we talk about Jimmy Savile, Jimmy Savile, he was the top of the pops guy. That it was only after his death.
I'm not too sure about him.
Well, I can remember Johnny Rotten there's a famous thing, him in the 70s talking about what he knew about Jimmy Savile, and here we are. It's only after he dies. There's a rule in criminal circles: you blame the dead person.
the mysterious suicide, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, but when someone dies, if the trouble's coming to you, you say, "Oh yeah, that was him," because, and that's exactly what happened with Jimmy Savile. Like many a person knew, he was not knighted? Was it Sir Jimmy Savile? He was. I'm not sure if that's right. Let me look that up. I could be wrong about that, but he was certainly friends with royal people.
Yeah.
Sir Jimmy. Yeah, he was a sir.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you get that deep into it, you normally are knighted somehow.
Yeah, well, I would have thought just natural curiosity would suggest, if you approve of this person to the point you publicly acknowledge them, hey, well, then I have some questions for you, because now we know what he was up to. How about what was your role in that?
Right. I mean, Mal, you got to think about it. The whole thing about it. Take Paris, for example. Paris is another classic example. You have tunnels going all underneath there. You got tunnels going all underneath Berlin. You know what I mean? And they say these tunnels date back to these war periods, but they're still being utilized by politicians. You get what I mean? Some of these tunnels, I think, are so geniusly designed that they have top of the line security. They have enough food to feed them forever, basically. Like they said they had indoor grow operations for food and all this other kind of stuff, right? Now, I didn't include this in this, but I'm just saying, I thought about it, but remember I told you I wanted to shorten this stuff. You know what I mean? But why do they have all that? And what are they really doing with it? The general public don't. We know about different types of bases, right? We don't know about those ones because they're classified naturally. But when you get to the British family having these tunnels that they're using for just bars, and people like Epstein having submarines for quote unquote ocean environmental actions. Now, here's the thing. I can buy that she started off doing actual charity work. She was a member of the royal family herself.
She being
Maxwell.
Yep. What's her name? Ghislaine. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Ghislaine. From what I understand, she was a royal family member. So I think she started off with Epstein with good intentions. Like, she did have the submarines for her environmental thing. I think Epstein convinced her to actually transport victims that way, though.
Regardless what we think, what you're saying is not beyond the realms. Like,
well, it's money talks and they mingle. Okay,
yeah.
You're constantly hearing about, oh well, this politician was seen at. Why is this politician's picture popping up at this event with this politician? Why is this politician popping up at this politician? And why is this world leader at this meeting, at this summit, rubbing elbows with this person if they're saying this and that? And it's because of one thing. They don't care about anything other than this: money. And if they're willing to overlook human life, and these human traffickers, one of these human traffickers, Mal, said, if I had to sell off, he was asked, do you feel guilty for the fact that so many of your victims die either weeks or years after the surgery, and you're fully aware of this? You know what I mean? And he said, absolutely not. Business is business, as they say. And if I could kill half of Syria, I would. They make easy targets, he said, the refugees.
Well, I appreciate his honesty, as that makes total logical sense to me. It doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's good, but at least that sounds like an honest answer.
It was a brutally cold answer to the cold reality of what it's about. When business.
Honesty's it really doesn't matter what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. He strikes me as an honest person, unlike, say, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy just bullshits and bullshits and bullshits. They both did terrible things, but I'd spare Jeffrey because he's telling me the truth. So the truth goes a long fucking way with me. I really like it. And that, at least, is an honest answer. Like that,
yeah.
As much as I might not like it, as terrible as it may be, at least you're being serious.
I mean, and I guess I can understand that sentiment to a point, brother. I could. I mean, but the thing is as my faith puts it, I'm going to stand for human life in every single aspect. So I despise the person, because basically what he's saying is your life is worth whatever that organ is. And you asked me earlier, how much are you worth? One person calculated out to be worth around $2,300 for the average person. And that's not including all of your organs. That's just the kidneys, basically, and a couple other things. On average, the reason for this, they said, the harder surgery, such as lungs and brains, require such sophisticated facilities that the illegal people just do not have access to the kind of facility they need to be able to do that. It's bad enough, the stuff that they do. People wake up basically in pain with tubes sticking out of them. One guy, another 10-year-old guy, I want to say he was in China. I'm trying to recall, man, because this towards one of the last videos, you know what I mean? Or one of the first ones. Said his son went in for a medical procedure. It's supposed to be a routine thing. And the kid went missing. When the kid was found, when the kid was found. No, I was wrong on both accounts. It was in Africa it happened. When the kid was found, though, he had his testicles removed surgically without knowing it, because somebody needed the organ. Now, here's the problem as I see it. Human life is spared. I mean, that's the truth. It's wicked, and it should be stopped on all ends. These medical establishments need to be stopped. You know what I mean? Human life should not be targeted with the number sign. They shouldn't look at you, Mal, and say, oh, this is Mal. He's worth $1,252. Oh, wait. Nope. He's worth $100 and $252 because he did this or that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, ideally, Mike, yeah, that it'd be nice in an ideal world, wouldn't it? But
It's not ideal because you're turning human life, which in my faith is a huge deal because God granted us human life, and you're taking it and you're saying nope, you're only worth this amount of money because there's a huge epidemic going on, and we don't care what you say. Yes, you're in here for strep throat, but guess what? You're going to wake up with missing balls.
Yeah, well,
You thought you were going in for a checkup, but no. That's what I'm getting at. At what point, dude? That's what I'm saying. You need to hold people need to hold these medical, not us, because naturally we're just regular people. What I'm saying is we can only do what we can do through the show and through our blogs, and different social movements. You get what I'm saying? But the politicians need to be held accountable for their Department of Health. The World Health Organization shouldn't even be called the World Health Organization at this point. They failed with COVID, as far as I've seen, and they have failed
the
with
whole world.
Kosovo. They have failed with all of that situation. You get what I mean? This stuff has been an ongoing problem since we were children. Do you realize that these issues are going on since the early 90s? That places us when me and you were like, well, your later years, as it turns out, but I was supposed to graduate in 2000. So it would have been my adolescent years in high school that some of this stuff was going on. And yeah, we knew there was a war going on, but nobody was telling us about the missing prisoners of war with body parts showing up missing. You get what I mean? And who would have ever thought in the Ukraine years later, you would have locals saying that nobody voted for this to happen. And now the Ukraine military itself is doing the exact same thing. It seems like history is repeating itself because people don't remember.
Yeah, well, that is what happens, Mike. There's no doubt about that.
You get what I'm saying? And I'm hoping we still have viewers and everything because I know it's an intense subject matter. I was actually
there's 5 viewers and there's been hovering around that.
Cool.
About the whole
I know
story.
it's a tough subject matter to get into, but even as a Christian, I listen to a lot of gospel rap, and I know that's not your thing, Mal. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why I like it is because they push the narrative that I like naturally as my faith, and they're about standing strong in it. Because we're dealing with the time period right now that none of us thought that we would ever see transpire. I don't think I ever thought that I would live to see a time period where all this stuff is going on and is plainly happening in plain sight. I mean, in plain freaking sight in so many different ways, an ongoing problem. And from sexual crime all the way up to your health. Do you get what I mean? All the way up to your brain at that too. In some aspects when you get into social media. So what I'm getting at is I never thought I'd get to a point to where everybody would basically go label, and value. You get what I mean?
Funny thing happened yesterday, Mike. Yesterday it was the 19th here. It's the 19th for you now. I was talking with Mayhem, and there was this funny emoji. It was a guy side on twerking, and he had a firecracker sparkler thing sticking out his ass. And I said to Mayhem, I sent it to her and said, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
What is? And she informed me, "Oh, hey, it's Pride Month. Look what's going on in California." I didn't know. What do I know? But I asked her, I said, do people stick firecrackers up their ass to celebrate Pride Month? I mean, I don't understand. Why is there this emoji? Because I didn't type in anything.
Yeah.
And she said to me, type in gay pride and look what pops up. So I did, and boom, there's an explosion of rainbows and all sorts of craziness.
It's like it's something that in itself should be included in this episode. I feel like, as I talked about it in the previous episode, but my stance on it is this. I'm going to simplify. I spent a lot of time praying over this issue, even before this live episode, because of things. I know a lot of people in that community. So let me just say this. My issue, as I've stated numerous times, is not even directly at the teachers other than the extremists. And let me explain that. Okay? You've heard me yell over and over again. Why are we yelling about the Department of Education? It's because the Department of Education controls what the school unions and the state's Department of Educations can do, and they control the curriculum. That's why I say go after the Department of Education and the teacher unions. The other reason why I say go after the teacher unions is somebody needs to explain to me why the school superintendent could go around town spending credit cards, right? But yet the teachers have to spend their own money. Do you get what I'm saying? Explain that one. But yet, let me go back to the issue at hand. So when it comes down to the LGBT thing, I believe that people have a right. Now, look, spiritually, I'm going to say it's wrong. You already know that. Now, aside from that, politically, let me just say this. I believe people have a right to love whoever they want to love. Now,
fair enough.
Everybody has to practice common sense dignity, right? Nobody wants to see 1,000 different types of people walking around with their butts hanging out of their pants, genitalia shaking, boobs shaking. And let me just explain something to you. For the past couple of months, I've asked numerous different females, from waitresses to cooks to moms to stay-at-home moms to business women to manager types to all different types of females. You know what I'm saying? And I've asked them straight out, what do you think about all this mess? And every single one of them said, we want real men back. We can't, the single ones, you remember a while back, I said I had basically a female friend that's like a sister, like a sister-in-law to me.
Yeah.
When we were chilling out, she literally told me in jest that she can't find men anymore. She can't find real men anymore. They're all married or gone. You know what I'm saying?
That must become a bigger concern every day, because it's become trendy. And I mean
you gotta understand where these females are coming from. What they're saying is, yeah, they have always said that men should be somewhat more emotional to their needs or whatever. That's human nature, common sense. But they never said they wanted to go this damn far. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what they told me.
Well, next time you manage to talk to that God you love so much, I'd like you to give him my number. I have a few questions. It seems his creation's gone way off the fucking reservation. I mean,
before that's been predicted, Mal. You know that.
Yeah, well, we're certainly there.
Yes, we are.
How much could it possibly get? Really?
I mean, that's honestly, and you know, it's funny. I just posted a social media not too long ago after doing this series, because it's such a heart-wrenching thing. I mean, now I didn't even get a chance to say this earlier. The human trafficking, the first video, you guys will see actual interviews of legal process of children. Now, do you remember I said I have adopted children, right? So this one actually touched my heart.
Of course.
Like emotionally, because you see these little kids, some of them could speak English, some of them couldn't, but you see these little kids between the ages of 1 and like, I think 11, trying to legally defend themselves in the United States court of law, federal court of law, mind you.
Unbelievable.
And have to defend themselves. And majority of them get deported, but you hear them talking and it's just horrible. You hear them saying stuff like, do you know who, was it your dad that got you here? No. Do you know who got you here? No. Do you remember what I told you about these immigrants don't know the names of the coyotes? They don't know the time. They don't know the date.
But when did this come about? I mean, goodness me, if I go to court today, if I can't afford a lawyer, you get legal aid and all that sort of thing. At what point did we decide 6-year-olds could defend themselves in a court of law? When did that happen?
Like, I believe there's a lady talking to him that appears to be like a social worker kind of tone. You know what I mean? It's America, so I'm pretty sure she's some type of healthcare, you know, mental health, whatever. But yeah, basically the kids, there's some of them were like, it's so trippy. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the flight deck. We're cruising at 37,000 feet. We just passed over the coast. We'll be beginning our descent in about 30 minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to America.
Yeah. I was made in America, land of the free, home of the brave.
and right up under your nose, you might see a sex slave being traded, and will do anything for the money. Boy, mama might sell her babies, sell porn, sell pills, anything to pay the bills, anything to bring that paper. Gotta scratch that itch, gotta scratch them ticks. Ain't rich, but I might be. And I'ma shoot these flicks, I'ma turn these tricks, anything for a slight fee. Yeah, made in America. Mama told me that I belong here. Had to earn our stripes, had to learn our rights, had to fight for a home here. But I wouldn't know a thing about that. All I know is drugs and rap. I probably could have been some kind of doctor instead of holding guns and crack. I was born in the mainland, great-grandpa from a strange land. He was stripped away and given bricks to lay. I guess you could say he a slave hand, but I was made in America, so I don't know a thing about that. All I know is Uncle Sam looking for me, working on his corner, so I know I gotta pay tax. Getting paid in America, I was raised in America, and this is all I ever known. If I'm wrong, then you better come save me, America. Welcome to 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 America. Man, I die for America. I served my time for America. Got shot back, went to war, got back, and ain't nobody give a jack in America. I could've lost my life, why I lost my wife? I can't even get right in my homeland. Cold sweats, whole text, paranoid, looking out for a threat in my own land. I was trained in America. How they get up in the planes in America? Flew right into the buildings, taking out some buildings, people getting killed in America. And I'm still in America. Though America ain't feeling me, I went to war for this country. Turned around, came home, and you drilling me? When y'all free here, saying you don't wanna be here, well, you probably couldn't breathe here if I didn't load a couple magazines here. Y'all just complaining in America. I'm jumping out of military planes from America. Hey, I was made in America. That's why I'm out here saving America. I got a brother in the cemetery now cause he wanted y'all safe. And everybody want the freedom, but nobody want to hear about face. We bled for America, to keep y'all fed in America. But what's the point of talking? A lot of y'all don't really even care, America. Welcome to 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 America. I wish I lived in America. Wanna raise my kids in America. Heard everybody rich, all I gotta do is run, jump, kick. I'm a hit in your area. So please pick me, America. I know you probably never loved me. You never hear about me on the news, and you probably never been to my country. I hear you selling education, and got clothes that you throw away. Got plenty food in your nation. I can tell cause a lot of y'all are overweight. I already work for y'all. I'm in the sweatshops making these shirts for y'all. Now I ain't getting money, go to bed hungry, but I make some exports for y'all. Y'all don't know a thing about that. You was made in America. I'm trying to find me a ticket where the sky is the limit. Catch a plane to America. It should be plain to America. Y'all blessed and you got it made. Heard y'all don't pray no more. Y'all ain't say no more. Y'all looking for another way. Well, I hope it ain't true, but I'm packing my suit. Farewell to my motherland. Said bye to my loved ones. Fate, here I come, I'm going to another land. I done made it to America. I'm amazed at America. But I couldn't get approval to stay, so they sent me away from America.
Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these I will give you if you fall down and worship me.
You just want to use me.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, come on, Biz, you have 2 kids and a wife to worry about now. Wouldn't you like to be able to provide for your family? Do we have a deal?
I don't know what you reaching out your hand for. For I shake it, I break it. Hit the grave for I fake it. I will not accept payment to hand folk. Over to the devil, knowing Christ is they last hope. Surrounded by a bunch of gustos out of low cash, but I ain't selling my soul or my notepad. What you want me to do? Promote crack? Figured they wouldn't reject the noose if the rope black. So you make one a dealer, make the rest fiends. Make one a millionaire, make the rest bleed. Wanna see us hang, get a few good guys, sit them in a bent coupe and make the noose look fly. I can't do it, I know what it feel like, trying to fit a rap fantasy into my real life. Got a couple real homies doing real time, trying to eat, now they being told when it's meal time. Why would I make that appealing to them? Why would I make rap appealing to them? And now you saying I'm the villain, cause I'm chillin', trying to get this penicillin through them. In the message, I ain't quitting till it's been delivered to them. Stun on everybody, fake it till I make it in front on everybody. Make them feel low, cause they don't got what I got. Like they ain't on my level, cause they don't rock what I rock. Tell them that I live a life they should wanna kill for. Still for, that's what you get in new jails built for. That's how you pick and choose who them record deals for. First one to tap dance, do a little heel toe. Trying to use poverty against them, like give them a Ferrari, they'll lie for you and then some. Throw a dress on, rock press-ons, help push the same-sex laws and disrespect God. Heck no, what I look like trying to impress y'all. Homie, y'all either step off or get stepped on. They saying that I talk like I walk around with Teflon flesh on. For Christ, that's a line I'm willing to put my neck on. So go on ahead, Philistine, get the guillotine. 3 racks from a slingshot to make you Timberline. Y'all deny the sun like Michael did Billie Jean, but your calendar is still based off limousine. Right, BC, before Christ, AD, Anno Domini, the year of the Lord, right? So you can mock and you can front about the knowledge y'all got, but every time you say the year, you acknowledge my God.